The photo I've been working on is technically finished. The exposure's fixed, the sky is back, the colours have been unified, and the light feels beautiful. But great edits usually happen in the last 5%, those finishing touches. So in this video, I'm going to share with you techniques that can add polish and personality to our photos. Not only will I show you the methods we can use in Luminar Neo, but I'll also show you an alternative if you're a Lightroom or Photoshop user, so you can benefit from these as well. Right, let's get into it. If you feel like your photo needs a little bit of extra oomph, it's lacking contrast maybe, perhaps it's got a little oversaturated, this is a great tool for dealing with that. And that is the dramatic tool in Luminar Neo. I'm going to grab the amount slider and straight off the bat, it's not going to look good. Look, before and after, it's too much, but we can clearly see what's going on. We're desaturating the photo and we're adding global and localized contrast. Now it's the localized contrast which is giving us the most problem. You can see if I push that to 100, it really doesn't look good. But if I drop it the opposite way, you can see we're still getting the desaturating and contrast effect before and after, but it's done in a much more natural way. If we want to put a little bit of local contrast in, that's okay. I'd just be careful not going too high with this. Below that, we have the brightness slider, so we can actually control just how bright we want the effect. I think the default of 30 is usually pretty good, but we definitely want to explore what the saturation slider can do for us. Usually pushing it very, very high, sometimes all the way. If we look at the before and after, you can see it actually keeps the saturation the same rather than actually boosting it up. So anything below that is actually a desaturation of the effect. So even if I set this at 0, you can see before and after we are reducing some of that color intensity. As with all of the tools, once we've got them set up and we can clearly see what's going on with the amount at 100, we can then just play with that amount slider to ease in the amount that we actually want through our whole photo. And I think somewhere around halfway is about right for this one. I'm just going to quickly create a new layer and throw that tool away so that I can show you an alternative version that you can take if you're actually using Lightroom or Photoshop, because of course we have access to the curves tool. That is going to allow us to add our own custom contrast into the photo. Something like that might be similar to what we created before, but of course this is now oversaturated. What we want to do is jump into the color section and we would just reduce the color. So this might give us a very similar effect if I hide it to what we created before, perhaps a little more desaturated than the other version gave us, but that shows you that is how we can create that same effect. Just creating an S curve and desaturation of the color is going to give us something similar. Let's hide that layer, which is going to be our alternative edits, and let's stick with this layer, which is our Luminar Neo version. Right, I'm going to jump into the tool section again, and let me show you how we can create the matte look. So we have a dedicated matte tool inside Luminar Neo, and if you're not sure what I'm getting at here, let me push that all the way up so you can clearly see before and after. It's just crushing down the blacks, crushing down the whites, and giving, I don't know, for want of a better word, a bit of an Instagram kind of filter look to it. So some people really like this effect, and the fact that we can do it just with one tool, one slider in Luminar Neo is really awesome. It's a very quick shortcut. We can fine tune things like the amount of fade we want in it. We can reduce contrast. We can add more contrast in. There is a lot that we can do here. Also, if we wanted to actually colorize the shadow itself, we can do that by boosting this range amount up. Let's go stupidly high for now so you can clearly see. We can change the color of that range. We can say how saturated or desaturated we want it. When we've got it set up how we want, just like before, we can just pull that range amount back and just sort of feather it in to a very subtle point. Here's our before and here's our after with a very distinctive matte look. I think that's too much, of course. So again, we can just play with the amount, and once again, around halfway looks pretty good to me. If I were to do something similar in Lightroom, Photoshop, or another photo editor, the way I would tackle that, again, is with curves, which is great because it gives us so much control, but you got to know how to use them, right? So one of the main things with a matte look is that we're actually lifting up the black point. You can see if I grab this point on the curve and we just elevate it up, we're saying no longer should there be a pure black point. I want to make anything that was black more of a gray. And we can do the opposite with the white point and actually bring that down. And that's going to say, no longer do I want a pure white point. I actually want my white to be just slightly off white and a little bit more muted. By doing this maneuver on a curve, we can make a much softer kind of image. But if we want to maintain a sense of contrast while still having this softer look, we can still pop in an S into the line between those 2 points, and then we're kind of getting the best of both worlds, a high contrast look with a more crushed tonal range, which gives it a nice emotive quality. I've gone pretty heavy-handed with this just so you can clearly see what's going on. But let me show you one more thing. I showed you before how we can colorize with that matte tool. We can do the same thing with curves. If you come into a color channel, let's say blue, and we wanted to inject blue into the shadows, just grab that point that represents the shadows and lift it up. You can see that if I take it all the way, we are just injecting pure blue into the shadows. So what we can do is take that knowledge and just add a little bit, elevate that point just somewhat, and we're just starting to introduce a hint of blue. Usually when I do an addition of a color in the shadows, what I like to do is introduce the opposite color in the highlights. And so what we would do is actually take blue away from the highlights, and by taking blue away, we're introducing a nice yellow look. So if we look at the before and after of that effect, again, for me, it's a little bit too much and very heavy-handed, but I just wanted to go strong on it, so you can clearly see what this effect is doing. If you've been watching these edits I've been doing in Luminar Neo, don't have it yet and think it'd be a good fit for your photo editing, I've got a discount link in the description below so you can grab it at the best price available. I get a small commission from that, and that helps me just keep creating these kind of YouTube videos. All right, let's carry on editing. I'm just going to reduce the effect by 50% with a nice little technique which involves masks, and you just paint over the mask with a strength of 50%, and that then blends this effect in with now 50%. So we've got half of what we had before, and that's a quicker alternative way of dropping the effect of a layer without actually having to come in and manipulate all of those points and move them halfway of what they were. Okay, so let's hide this layer which kind of represents our other editors, and we're back down to the Luminar Neo version. And let me throw on one of my favorite finishing tools, and that is Mystical. This is one that is never applied locally. It's always a global effect. And as I move that up, you'll see what I'm doing wrong here. Nothing's changing, and that is because I have the wrong layer selected. So let me just come down to the correct layer, which we see, and let's go again. Let's come to the Mystical tool, and let's actually apply it to this layer. And I love the look of this tool. Again, too much at 100%, but I just want you to see when I make changes, it's much easier to see the changes when the tool is set to 100%. So we can clearly see what the smoothness slider does. It's just softening everything off. And that's the whole point of this particular tool, is getting a nice soft ethereal look at the end of your edit. Just like with many tools, we have some additional control. So if we wanted to cool down the glow or warm it up, we can do that. So if we decided, you know what, we really want to play into that warming effect, we can boost this up. As much as I love Mystical, I would never apply it with 100% intensity. Usually I'm somewhere between sort of 5 to 30. A little goes a long way with these kind of effects before and after. Very subtle now, but a beautiful addition. And if I go to the split screen, we can see where we came from. On the left-hand side, everything's looking nice and vibrant, but a little flat. And then on the right-hand side, we've just given it a little bit more punch at the moment. Like I say, I'm working a little more heavy-handed than I would normally, just so that you can see these effects. Now, if we show the layer above, we can see that we did indeed add the Mystical to the top of this. So let's just throw that away for now, and I'll show you how we could actually mimic that effect if you're not using Luminar Neo. So let's suppose we're in Photoshop. We're going to duplicate the layer. We're going to come over to the layer properties, and we're going to change the blend mode. So you obviously have access to this in Photoshop. We're going to change it to soft light, and now we're going to blur the layer. So again, I'm using Luminar Neo's version of blur, but if you were in Photoshop, you can just add a blur to your layer before and after. And you can see if I hide this layer and then show it, we're creating a similar effect to what we did before. It's a little more contrasty, but by, again, just easing in with a bit more subtlety, we can create a nice softening effect to the photo. So the photo's technically finished, however, it still feels a little digital. So one thing that I like to do to break that sense of digitalism is to reintroduce a little bit of film grain. And Luminar's film grain is actually really nice when the final version is rendered. Unfortunately, The way you see it on screen while you're doing your editing is not the exact version that you're going to see when you export your photo. The program's basically taking a visual shortcut so that it can apply the grain. You can see what it's looking like, but it's done it in a bit of a rough and ready version. As you can definitely see when I zoom out to fit the screen, it looks really over accentuated. And that's because its rendering engine is just using a visual proxy to give you an idea of what the finished look will be like. There's a little bit of a frustration, but when you zoom into 100%, you actually get a much more realistic version of what it's going to be like. I'm going to go pretty heavy with the grain at the moment, maybe even boost the size up just a little bit. I don't know, something like that, just a subtle introduction of grain. And as an absolute final step on this one, I'm actually going to borrow a little bit of what I did over here demonstrating what you can do in Lightroom and Photoshop. Well, of course, we can do the same thing in Luminar Neo as well. I loved that yellowy injection of color into what is white in this photo. So we're going to add the same thing here. I'm going to go to the develop tool so that I can access the curves. Just click on the blue channel, and it was that drop, that subtle drop in the highlights towards the yellows that actually recolorized the white towards yellow. So I'm just going to pull that down, and that was complemented by a subtle lift in the blues as well. Just playing into that complementary color scheme. All right, before and after with that tool. And I'll hold the backslash key so we can see where we started this lesson and where we've got to. Before and after. An important point, you might be looking at the before and after and thinking, that's too much. I don't want that much of a change to my photo. But the important thing is not the end result I've created here, but the knowledge of those techniques so that you can take them and just sprinkle in a little bit of this one, a little bit of that. Don't really like the film grain, leave that out. It's entirely up to you to create your own recipe. Now for the bit I've been looking forward to the most. If you followed through this entire series, you will remember we started with a photo that looked like this. We had a lesson on how to work with underexposed photos in Develop Raw. We then recovered the unrecoverable sky. We created a more unified color palette. We added some beautiful soulful light to the image. Did a little bit of retouching and removed her hand, before finally adding our layer of polish. So here is our original raw photo, and here is the fully edited version that we've created in this series. Here's our before, and here's our after. If you missed the full portrait editing workflow, you can check out that video there where I walk through everything. If you want to pick and choose your episodes, I've put a playlist together of each of the individual videos. So either way, you can catch up on anything you missed. If you've enjoyed the series and feel like you got something out of it, I'd love you to let me know with a thumbs up. It means the world to me. And if you want to leave me a comment, also very much appreciated. I will see you in the next editing video. Bye bye for now.